do that kiss.
Okay. Good luck.
Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing podcast style tonight because our ring light's still out, so it's darker than I'll get up in here. So we're gonna do this podcast style. Nefer was nice enough to put together a picture that went there for us.
Got a couple we can use in the future. So.
Yep. And at some point, I might go ahead and do a style like, what's his name? Tyler and them are doing.
Yeah.
Where it talks and.
Those are typically really expensive to make, and
I
can do one, but I haven't been successful in doing it yet. It's like
Okay.
it accepts the picture.
Well, I don't want to have to pay money for it. I just thought it'd be good.
But if I can get it working, I think that'd be really cool. Because I'd like to do a more judgmental segment of my channel using like the segment.
Nefer's judgment.
Also TikTok.
Yep.
And TikTok, yes, that'd be funny. So I hope that we have sound.
Tristan, can you check for us? Do you have a phone?
Of course.
We're gonna check that before we move on.
Yep. And then we got a good one, ladies and gentlemen. It's childhood trauma, which we both had a lot of.
Yeah, it just manifested in us in different ways. You know, like made you.
You guys.
You can?
Yeah.
Is it pretty clear?
Yes, it is.
All right. So yeah, for you, it manifested in what always happens with men that are raised by single mothers. You were a bit more feminine, softer, not so sure of yourself, like not, And then for me, being raised by a single mother is way more masculine,
vicious,
aggressive, hostile.
Yeah.
I'll just do it myself, and it's like that still comes around.
Yeah.
But we definitely have recognized these patterns and are working through them. And it's like infinitely better than it used to be.
And I mean, we're working through them together. We have not gone to a therapist or anything. I mean, we're just doing it.
Right. And before we even like had the internet and realized that other people were going through these things like toxic narcissism with their mothers and everything.
Yes.
We had recognized that pattern and stepped away from it. And that's when we started the monastery. So it was like the first 3 years of all the work that we did was done just by being like just in nature.
Exactly.
Without a TV.
Yeah.
Without distractions, we were forced to be in it.
Yeah, we were.
It made us like polarized to the way we were supposed to be.
Because when we first got together, we went through some crap. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
There was drinking and narcotics.
Yeah, when
prescription.
When you would drink, you would forget things and you became like a totally different person, very antagonistic and stuff.
Yeah.
And when I would drink, I became even more aggressive and ready to fight. And I mean, we would get into literal knockdown, drag out fights. I mean,
we would.
Mutual freaking combat. I mean, blood everywhere. Just crazy
it was bad
stuff. Yeah.
And a lot of people would have told us, well, you two just aren't meant for each other. You two aren't good. You need to separate. But I mean, that's why the nuclear family is diminishing because it's like, well, okay, you two aren't working, and even if it's just that moment, but you two need to separate. You two are never gonna make it work.
Right. It's like it's not easy, so don't do it. It's toxic. That's a deal breaker.
Yes.
It's like, yeah.
I know. We watch Teen Mom.
Yeah.
That's another one. You see it all over there.
Yeah.
I mean, they are so bad with that.
Yeah, they pick toxic people. And
yes.
The minute they just start to get uncomfortable, it's like, oh well, I'm gonna drop this one, and then they go and get into another toxic relationship. So see, if it wasn't us, then who?
Exactly.
If it wasn't then when? You know, I mean, so it was like we stuck it out and worked it out together.
Yeah, we decided, you know what, we both have issues.
Yeah.
Let's find out what they are and let's work through them and stay together.
Yeah.
We have 2 wonderful kids.
Yeah. And we have this house and we have the land and we have the animals and we have a plan for the next 5 years.
Yep.
And plan for the 5 years after that.
We do.
And it's life is good, it tests me.
We got our bumps. It's like going down Williams right now.
Right. It's really difficult. I mean, the life that we live is really difficult anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand, like, living a monastic life is I mean, it's peaceful, but there's so many like hurdles that you have to overcome.
Yeah, there is.
Like
I
was raised in the wild, and even still, there's more.
Yeah.
I
mean, we didn't have a car for the longest time.
Right. We did not have a car from 2017 until now.
Yeah.
We had the van from last year, but it didn't get us like here. It was used.
We had issues from the start.
Yeah, it was a good deal.
Yeah.
It was used in an emergency to get us all out of here when the fire came, and that was pretty much it.
Yes.
So it served its purpose for sure.
But I mean, now.
Yeah.
We have something. Hopefully, will work out for us.
And as you can tell, I'm still really skeptical of it. It's like I'm just like waiting and saying, okay, what's gonna go wrong?
Well, I'm waiting on it too, because like that's what
we're gonna keep your voice down.
That's like I said. I mean, right now I've used it a few times and it's running well.
Yeah.
But it's like I know there's things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm waiting still to try to make sure that there's no issues with it.
So it's like, but as long as he can get registered, because that's the main thing that I'm worried about.
It is.
Because that's one of the challenges I was going to talk about with living a monastic life is, you don't have the connections to the city that you once did. And it's like, it's not that easy just to go and like, say, just register your child.
Exactly.
When he was free birthed at home. There was no prenatal care. There was no, none of that stuff. And so registering him isn't easy, and then especially when it's been winter and we had bad weather and we have people that aren't going into the city that we can go with, and I'm afraid the people that do go are around too many of the people that are going to get us sick.
Exactly.
It's a totally different mindset,
and that's why this vehicle was a must for us.
Yeah,
because I was having too many people that were like, oh yeah, I'll bring you to town, but they didn't like waiting.
Right.
And it's like when I go to get stuff, and so it takes me a little bit longer to make sure I have it all. And
like with him, it's like I'm not gonna chance that.
No.
Cause we've had people dick out on us and get paranoid and leave us behind, and it's like I'm not gonna do that and be stuck in the city and not able to get back because they decided they don't want to wait.
Exactly.
So there's that challenge. There's also the challenge of having to live in a small room.
Yes.
To save on like heating costs and cooling costs and stuff,
And 2/3 of people would have killed each other by now.
Yeah, so it's like if we can make this work, even with their childhood traumas and working through those, then there's no reason that the world at large can't figure this out.
For sure.
All the resources that they have available to them.
Unfortunately, it's a Western way of thinking, Western philosophy for killing the nuclear family.
Yeah,
we've seen it all over.
An agenda, yeah, for sure. I see it in the comment sections all the time. It's like I keep clipping things from different, like the child free by choice, and whether you should or shouldn't get married, and I keep seeing the same thing that single women without children are the happiest demographic, and it's
what is it? It's like Danks or.
Okay, well, that's a dual income.
Yeah, that's dual income.
No
yes.
kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, I don't know, different episode for a different day. But still contributing to that whole childhood trauma, I do believe, because a lot of the things that they cite is
for sure.
Oh well, I wasn't raised well, and I don't want to do that to somebody else. Well,
yes.
This being raised not right has made me realize where I have to do better. And
exactly.
Things I would never do to my own child.
Yeah, see, that's what it's about. It's about putting your kids first, making sure that your own ego does not get in the way, which with our parents did.
Yeah.
They were full on egos.
And they painted it with the brush of, oh, well, I had to do that to make it so we could survive. And you look back and you're like, no, you didn't. You did not have to do that. We did not have to go, like in my case, we did not have to go on 3 trips around the United States. We didn't have to go to Hawaii and then to Washington and then to New Mexico and spend like 6 weeks out of the year out. We didn't have to do that. I didn't have to have all the horses that I had. I didn't have to have those things. So it's just like, it's bullshit.
It is, for sure.
It was like, that wasn't survival. Those were all extras.
Yeah. For me, I mean, it was, I had a lot of excess when it came to, sodas, any of that stuff. It's like, if I wanted it, they would just go to the store and get it. It's like, oh, you ran out. You drank a 12-pack of Coke in a day. Okay, well, let me go get more.
Yeah, that really, really clashed when you moved to
Yes.
The wild, because well, there is like no just run to the store and get another thing.
No.
You know, it's like even back in Morella, it was still difficult. You know, it was a lot closer. I bet you probably regret it now, but it was like we just didn't either have the time or the money to do so.
Exactly.
And yeah, something breaks, you can't just go out and replace it. If you run out of something that you've eaten, you just can't go get more. So yeah, different, and that really, really clashed.
Oh my God, it did. Yes.
I couldn't understand you. I still can't sometimes. I don't understand the city mentality. That's why.
Yeah.
It's like it's excessive.
You know, it's like when I was in the city, it's like I just take the bus anywhere I wanted to go, and I didn't drive.
Right.
Because I was like, well, why? I can just take buses and do this and that. And there's no need for me to drive. That way I don't take accountability again.
Right. Right.
And you know, you move out here, and I mean, I walk just about everywhere. I've had to for the last, know, however long.
Since 2017.
Since we didn't have a vehicle, it was like, nope, I've got to get our family food. I've got to get our family this and that. It's like
8 years.
Yes.
8 years, because it was like I said, 2017 was the last time we had a good working vehicle, and that was in October.
Yes.
So like 8 years you've been doing this.
I know.
You know, and it's like the first year that you were like taking care of us by walking, I had the thing that tracked how many miles you walked.
Oh my God, I know.
You walked over 4,000 miles. That's longer than the length of the United States.
Exactly.
4,000 miles you walked in that first year alone. 1 year. You know, and I remember telling my mother this because I was still talking to her at the time, and she's like, "Oh, it's like walking the PCT," and I'm like, "Are you not understanding that though?"
Yeah.
I'm like, in order to get what we needed and to do what has to be to walk that far, people can't walk the PCT. They don't make it routinely, and they're hikers that are trained for this, and you did it anyway.
Exactly.
And it's like that's all she had to say about it. And it was like just undermining and diminishing it, and that's that's what we're gonna get into today, because it's, I mean, I don't want to put the blame on the parents, but you know,
it's on them.
It is, and but it ends with you. You have to take accountability and make yourself better, but you cannot tell me that they did not have a factor in that. You know, it's like a lot of people say, well, it was the time that they were growing up in, and it's like, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. It was them, because there is a very distinct way that we were treated, and I see this pattern among other people about our age. And it's like, what do you mean the 90s? The 90s were so hard that, you know, that exactly. I mean, act like they're talking about like it was the 30s or something. And it's like even they had their shit together more than our parents did.
They did.
All right, let's get it rolling.
Yep, we've already talked about 15 minutes, so
I knew we would.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot more too. I'm sure of it. All right, so I got to present, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, share screen.
And then mute mic.
You will hear us a lot more, ladies and gentlemen.
I know, it's
we're going to get into this first. Okay, mute this one, right?
Mute mic.
Attacks. Imagine, like, I'll put a picture. Hello, this little cute Amir sitting at the front door with the backpack just waiting to be picked up by his dad. And he would never show up. The last few years, I've been diving deep to reflect on my life and really understand why I am the way I am. And of course, a lot of that relates back to my childhood and the trauma that not only I have, but some of you as well. I know a lot of people who have been doing the work to confront their childhood trauma and their inner child. And that's what this video is about. We're going to get into a bunch of different perspectives, both men and female, who have been diving deep and confronting their childhood trauma, the perspectives and the viewpoints that they have, as well as my most recent mental breakdown. Quite frankly, yeah, I mean, besides like my bad attempt, the biggest breakdown I've had of my entire life 2 months ago. Without further ado, let's just dive right into this, unpack all of this. And of course, as always, if you like this kind of content, be sure to subscribe. Helps the channel grow a ton. Without further ado, let's just dive right into this.
The hardest trauma to treat is the hardest trauma to see. And childhood emotional neglect is often called the invisible trauma because the effects are so hard to recognize. Here are 5 hidden results of childhood emotional neglect from a licensed therapist and certified trauma professional. Make sure you listen to the last so you know what to look out for. First, struggling to speak up for yourself, even when you have something important to say or someone's walking all over you. Second, feeling awkward when people genuinely check in with you about your feelings, so you distance yourself.
That's a big one. I noticed that some of my friends I've spoken to, whenever I see this, I do, listen, if you're one of my friends, I get deep real quick. I'm one of those people. We'll be in a room, all just hanging out, and I'm like, so what's your biggest regret in life? Because I don't like to waste time. I like to get right to it. I like to actually have like fruitful conversations. And so this is one of them where people would just like push others away just for helping or just distance themselves. And I'm like, that's an immediate red flag, almost like, hey, like you're safe here. Like, you're good. You don't have to run. It's fight or flight. You can leave that. But also understanding that that's coming from somewhere.
Which teaches them not to ask anymore. Third, having an inferiority complex or imposter syndrome, otherwise an inability to see your own worth, with a nagging belief that everyone else somehow is more prepared or better than you in some way. Fourth, difficulty sharing your emotions, and partially because you never learn to identify them yourself. Fifth, feeling lonely, but also seemingly unable to connect with others when opportunities arise, instead opting for self-isolation and seclusion.
Raise your hand if you've been personally victimized. Hello. All extremely valid. And I think those are all very, 5 key ways to kind of a starting point to dive into your inner child, your inner self, your past traumas, to really reflect and say, why am I that way? Why am I adult relationships, whether that be romantic or platonic with friends, do I act a certain way? Of all the times I've been upset at a friend or in a relationship, why? What set it off? Really trying to understand the why of who you are as a person is so powerful, so monumental, because at that point, you can start to really work on and fix anything that you don't like about yourself. You can't heal what you choose to not confront. And if there's things going on in your life, there are things that happen in your childhood and you're not reflecting on it, you're not facing it head on and saying, this is really causing me some trouble in my adult life. I'm pushing people away. For some reason, I feel so lonely, and I'm presented with options to not be lonely, but I'm choosing to be lonely. I'm not connecting with this person. Why? Because at the end of the day, yeah, there are some crappy people out there, but it does fall on you and how you are responding to the world around you. And it's in identifying some of these things about yourself that really can help you grow as a person and really truly get down to the core of who you are as a person. Because there's far too many people, and maybe this is something you can relate with, that are extremely lonely but not alone. There are people out there that are lonely. They go to work, they come home, and that's it, and they're lonely. And there's also people who have the tons of friends and the livelihood, and they go out and they're at the club, but it is the weirdest feeling being surrounded by a ton of people and feeling like the only person in the room. Absolutely crazy. Crazy. And if you feel that way, that's when you need to get to a point to understand, do you even like where you're at right now? Do you like being at the club? Do you like the people that you are with? Do you like what you are doing? Because there's far too many people whose lives are on autopilot right now, just doing the next thing to follow this guide map, or not even a guidebook, but following this subjected, pushed onto us life guide, I guess, of what a life should be. College, then a 9 to 5, then you get married, then you have a kid, you go on vacations, buy a house, then you retire, then you die, like rinse and repeat. And there's a lot of people who don't want that. There's a lot of people who are following that roadmap, but then regret it. And this goes into another video, so be sure to subscribe. But this idea of a midlife crisis, I personally, I don't see myself having a midlife crisis. I don't know what's going to happen in my life later on, of course. But the main reason people have a midlife crisis is because they're having a life crisis. They do not like where their life is at. It reminds me of the people who have midlife crisis oftentimes say like, oh, the 20s is your best to be alive. 20s this, 20 that. I'm excited for my 40s. I'm excited for my 50s. Like this time I'm building, but I cannot wait to be so established and set and with a family. I can't wait for that. I'm not living, like I am present. I'm living for the now, but I'm also living for the future. Living for a future that I'm going to be falling in love with. Living for a future that I thoroughly enjoy and passionate about. That's what I'm here for.
Many people who have experienced trauma stay up too late because it's...
All right.
No, you said it.
Okay. We were just talking. And, he was talking about midlife crises and stuff like that. But see, with us, it's more like the midlife grounding.
Yeah, we've been through enough crisis that we've actually worked through that there's no reason for anything to sneak up on us all of a sudden, like at the age of 45 or 50 or whatever.
It's more like we'll hit our good point.
Exactly, yeah.
And be able to advance on because and live our better years.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's like I've always kind of been dubious about the whole midlife crisis thing anyway. But I can definitely see where it comes from if you have just avoided everything that you've been, that's happened to you, and you don't know who you are, and then all of a sudden one day you wake up and it scares you because now you're tipping to the other side and how you fucked up, so it's like
that's where a lot of these people get it. It's like a good example is the one that Will Ferrell just did, the movie about the trans.
Yes.
Something like that. He just turned it all of a sudden.
Right.
But and he was like, well, I wasn't being true to who I was, and then so they call that a midlife crisis.
Right.
And it's like you don't know if that truly is who he is, or they just had a mental snap.
I think it was mostly just like a social contagion thing. It's like
same here.
It's like this is a popular thing happening right now, so I'm gonna get in on that.
Yes.
And I, honest to God, kept waiting for them to just be like, "Oh,
this is a joke."
It's a joke.
Will Ferrell, yes.
Because of the way they were acting, it was so over the top. When he was crying and stuff.
I know. And then Will Ferrell was stupid for taking him to Texas in the first place.
That's what I mean. I thought for sure it was a joke because it's like there's no way they're gonna do that, right? Why would you go?
Why?
Yeah.
Will Ferrell gets all emotional and he was like, "Well, I'm sorry, I didn't think taking you." It's like, really?
No, you're kidding. Right?
What kind of a life do you lead? I mean,
it might be stupider
to
than
not
I thought,
know.
It's like it's the reddest of the red fucking states, and you're gonna goddamn go and do that shit?
Yeah.
Really? I don't think so.
Yeah, they won't take kindly to it at all.
No, and they didn't.
No.
It's like,
and there was a lot of bad tweets and stuff, and that's what he got all upset about. And it's like, really?
I thought it was gonna be kind of like what Sasha does, Sacha Baron Cohen, and when he does like this extreme trolling,
Yes,
he did that too. He went to Texas when we were acting like that, and it's like, oh Jesus! I mean, he got thrown in jail, he got beat up, and all this stuff happened to him, but it was like inevitably for a movie, for a joke.
And hey, he's committed. He's done a lot of good work.
Yeah, he's paid for it too.
Yeah.
But no, these guys were serious, and I was like, whatever, I guess, do you? But I lost a lot of respect for
Will Ferrell. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, man. That's stupid.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess the classic example of midlife crisis is, a guy for some reason decides he wants to get a shiny new sports car and dye his hair and maybe get a divorce and find a younger girl and all this stuff. And it's like, well, you just didn't handle something in your youth.
Exactly.
It's
that's just it.
I don't get that.
A lot of them, they're the football stars. They're the football stars and the cheerleader. Yeah. They get married young because they're expected to
it's a good image.
Have kids. All of them are resentful because they don't
really connect. They don't
connect. Exactly.
It's like Mike and Melody. They were together for a really long time. They were supposed to be pillars of the community.
Yep.
Good, honest Christian folks, and we got to see the inside of that. They are not. And when I was even growing up with Kimberly, my best friend, it's like she even wished that her parents would get a divorce because she said like living with them, hating each other and treating each other the way that they were,
that's bad.
Like in the peak of it was probably around the age of like 50 or so. Midlife. And it's like, no, I don't see that. I can't see that happening.
Yeah, and the father is a piece of work.
Yeah, the mother is too.
Well, yeah, but
it's like I don't know.
Hoarder
and lots and lots and lots of psychiatric meds.
Yes.
It's like it's not covering it,
No, it didn't.
All right,
back to our.
It's the only time that they feel at peace. If you grew up in a chaotic or an unpredictable household, then nighttime may have become your only moment of control and quiet. Over time, you probably learn to rely on those late hours for a sense of safety and comfort. And now what seems like a bad habit is actually just a deeply ingrained survival strategy that you developed to reclaim a sense of calm.
I feel like I'm just being read for filth right here. Who relates? Let me know in the comments below, because I may or may not was up till like 4 most nights actually. Well, here's the deal. One, I'm in a creative space. This is what I do for my living. I do YouTube for a living. So I'm always creative at night. But she does have a point, because when I look back and reflect on my childhood and teenage years, yeah, the nighttime I thrived, the nighttime I yearned for, because it was a safe space. It was very nice. It was very comforting between like, I don't know, 11, 12 to like 5, 6, heavenly, super nice, super calm. I was able to completely decompress and just be me, and it was fine. I was in my room and it was so good. And looking at that, how it's playing out now, it does make you think. It really does. Because on one end, like I said before, I'm the most creative at night. It's the most fun at night. It unlocks something in my brain. But on the other, I mean, candidly, I am in this space of not necessarily fear, but in this space of unpredictableness that is owning a business and working for yourself. Some months are super like, what the hell? And some months are like, okay, that was good. And being in a space, being an entrepreneur, it is terrifying. I'm forever going to be one. I would not change it for the world. But I think, especially since becoming like my own boss, I have, looking back, since working for myself, I have reverted back to like staying up super late. And maybe that is a case of, you know, that survival strategy of like, okay, I know things are super chaotic, running your own business, this and that, there's so much to do, so many moving pieces. This is like my safe space. So I mean, that's how deep I try to go with like these topics and things that are going on in my life. So maybe that's the case, who knows? But it's definitely something to make you stop and think about, yeah, those moments as a child, like the nighttime thrive, because that's the only time I had to just like exist truly, with so much like just stress free. It was so nice. And if you relate, let me know in the comments below.
One of the challenges of loving someone with childhood trauma is the anger, the withdrawal, the personal attacks that can sometimes arise for reasons that really aren't obvious. Like maybe you drop a plate and they freak out, and it's like, it's pretty disproportionate, right? It doesn't seem like dropping a $3 plate really merits that kind of response. Or it'll be these moments when it just, you forgot something or you're late and they really react intensely. It's like, is something deeper going on here? Like, I don't feel like what I'm doing is actually meriting that kind of reaction. Well, something that's really helpful to know is that trauma isn't always stored in our memory systems in like the front of the brain, the logical thinking part. It's also stored at the back, like in our implicit memories, in our touch, taste, smell. So something like a crash from a plate can actually bring back this rush of emotions from a time in your past when something really traumatic happened to you.
And personally, I haven't dealt with that to that extent. At least like in my current relationship now, we communicate very well. Like, it's actually kind of crazy how well we communicate. But I have seen this, and when situations like this arise, I find it so useful. Even for your friendships, this extends past like personal relationships, but even with your friends, really getting to the core of an issue. Like, not necessarily like the plate crashing, but what did that plate crashing, what did that response, where did that come from? And really thinking about it and going back to it, so you can really understand and process why the way you are. Because once you can understand why the way you are, you can really start to unpack and decipher, I like this communication style, I like the way these.
So LongWalker has had to deal with that with me a lot, like just coming off the handle about very minute things. It's like I don't do it so much anymore. But
no, you've gotten really good.
Even today, I went through that. You know, it was like, you know, the lack of respect for people's stuff and things and everything. And it's like you have to think, well, where did that come from? They're gonna howl. But it's like, it's just because that was like rigidly ingrained in me back in the day, and it was like, and it was really disproportionate what they did to me. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
I had a cluttered room, like it was really cluttered. But if I wanted to get rid of something, they gave me the guilt of, well, you know, I gave that to you for your birthday, or you know that your grandmother gave that to you for Christmas.
Yes,
you're really gonna get rid of that. Where the fuck am I supposed to put it?
Exactly.
And so then I remember my mother going just completely unhinged and I had like one of those little walking cats, you use the remote control and it walks on the floor, and I'd wanted it so bad for Christmas. Well, I had carpet, and it couldn't really use it, so I wouldn't use it in that way, but I would brush it out and stuff, and she comes in and she's just like flaming pissed about something. I might have to take a break. Might have to stop.
Yep. Yeah, I'm starting to howl.
Hold on. But she was pissed off at something about the clutter of my room, and then she singles out my cat thing, and she's like, "You wanted that so bad, and you don't even play with it." And then she picked it up over her head, and she freaking threw it at me.
See,
and it like broke. It never worked. It would never work again.
That sucks.
And it was like, it pissed me off because it was like, dude, what the hell am I supposed to do with this shit? There's no space.
Exactly. And it's like, kids are kids. The gifts that you give them, you are going to have them play with for a while.
Yeah.
And then they get something new, and then it's moving on to that. They might go back in the future, the past or future, back in the future. To play with it again,
incorporate it into the whole fucking thing.
But they're not gonna just play with it.
Right.
They're gonna be all over.
It was mostly due to the clutter of the room. And
yes.
Shit. And then she's like, you had to have one more thing. You had to have it, and then
exactly.
Just like that. And so I remember like getting uppity with her. I was probably only like 8 or so, and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go break all your stuff." And she's like, "Dude, you're not." And she's like, "I paid for these things." So it was she held that over me like, "Well, I paid for it, so I can do whatever I want to it." So nothing was ever really mine, and you saw that all the way.
Oh God, yeah.
All the way into my teen years.
Yes.
It's like not really yours. I paid for it. You're just using it. Doesn't matter if I gave it to you as a gift or not.
Oh, I know.
But but if I paid for it. Oh, here we go. This is called Wolf Song. Welcome to the desert.
This means summer's coming.
Yeah. And that day's over, I guess. Even though the sun set like hours ago.
I know.
Then we started like, oh, you fucking ruined it.
You ruined it, Kevin.
But yeah, I mean, so you'll see that with me still flare up. It's like because I don't have very much stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like the respect and the honor for your own things, your own space, as well as everybody else's is really important to me.
Yes, exactly. I know.
It's just that it comes off really aggressively sometimes, even still.
Yeah.
It's a really hard thing to wipe, and that's kind of what we're talking about, like the people understand where this anger and shit comes from.
Well, of course.
And it's like you're the exact opposite. You're quiet, and you did it today. You just shut up, shut down, just like did what you just to avoid it. Just started doing stuff just to avoid me going farther with that. Yeah. So we both fell back into that a little bit, but it passes, and we're not afraid to talk about it.
Exactly.
And it's like, but these wounds go deep,
Oh, of course.
And
and especially since I know that you
just dismiss it.
Okay. Sorry, we got a warning thing on your Spruzy.
Oh.
So it didn't even matter. But there's a lot of trauma within that with your mother, grandmother.
Yeah, it was
a lot of trauma. I mean, just a lot of what they did. They got in your head about it, and they were master manipulators.
Well, hell, there's a whole book written about them.
Yeah.
It's like if you guys ever want to check out a really screwed up family line, check out In My Blood. I think it's called In My Blood, and it's by John Cedric, I think. And it's like that's my family line, and you can see the fuckery all the way through.
Exactly,
like
you can.
It's like that's.
You showed it to me. I've read some parts of it. Yeah.
It's like that's exactly why I chose a monastic life, because I had to start serving something bigger than myself, because the family name was the biggest thing that I knew up until that point, and it was like that's not good enough. Why should I serve that when it's done nothing for me,
unfortunately, there's not too many people that have the nomadic life anymore.
No, well, we have a monastic life.
Yeah, monastic.
Which means to be away.
Yeah.
Apart.
But I mean, that type, there's the nomadic and then there's the monastic that we are. But I was just getting at, there is one other person that's a monk and lives the nomadic lifestyle.
Yes, with this mule.
Yeah.
I can totally see our son Guru living this sort of life in the future, because even in his Minecraft worlds, he always has to get a mule. And he runs around just like traveling the world with it,
Yeah, this guy goes all over the United States with it, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And, he's gotten in trouble with the law enforcement, but he's fought it and he's won. Yeah, I mean, he's got a whole thing on it. The website is 3mules.com.
Yep.
And, I mean, he's an amazing guy from what he's done.
Yeah, he doesn't have any property. He just travels with his mules and walks and walks. Yeah. He doesn't even ride them. He just walks with them. And
our son got to see him.
Yeah, it's very cool.
We were driving by him where we live, and we said hi to him.
Yeah, that's
and
neat.
Stuff. So it was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it'll bring you closest to God than you could ever imagine. But yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, many people still live in the city, whether
city mentality.
Yeah, whether it is the actual city or the city mentality, and it's like they don't have the means to break away from that.
Yep.
And it's like I said, it took about 3 years for us living without TV and without any other sort of distraction before we came through ours.
I know.
So I can't imagine how long it would take somebody that still has those distractions.
Oh my God, so long.
But it's like they do have resources too.
Yeah.
So could work more in their favor. They could theoretically get through it a little bit easier than we did.
They could, yes, that is very true.
Because this has helped us. Having the social media and stuff and seeing other people. Wow, shit, we're not the only ones.
Exactly.
It's like, what? Okay, and how are they handling it? Yep, been there, done it. I get it. It makes you feel a lot better.
It does, yes.
But every person's situation is unique, but there is that core of truth with narcissism that's just like,
of course.
Man, our parents fucked us up, Now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, and it's very true. I mean, you can get yourself down in a spiral because you could be like, oh my God,
I can't get out of this. I can't,
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you can, because the first step is recognizing it.
Exactly.
And like a lot of people that say, I don't want to have kids because I don't want to be that. And I'm afraid of turning into my mother. It's like, the fact that you recognize it alone and that you don't want that proves that you're not going to be like
that.
It's
big.
Because narcissists are not capable of stepping back.
Noticing.
Yeah,
yes.
Right. It's like an empathizing. That's why it's so sad, because it's like, that, like that Dr. Phil thing that I watched the first time, I literally cried because it was like, that's the first time I realized my mother was a narcissist, and that narcissism absolutely has like no cure. There is like no hope.
Exactly.
Because they have to submit to something, and I damn well know she's not going to submit to anything.
Of course she's not.
Because they don't think anything's wrong. It's everybody else's problem.
Yep.
My grandmother the same way. It doesn't matter how many friends fall away from her. She's the common denominator. But it's everybody else's problem.
Of course
I see that with your mother as well. It's the victim mentality with her.
Oh my God, yes.
Why are they doing this to me? Why do I have to go through this?
But I'm in AA now, so
AA.
So it's fixed, and but I've got to go. I've got to go to meetings every day still. I've got to.
And she never did the work, because if she would have done the work, she would have sat down with you and said, "I'm sorry,"
and talked about it.
That you had to go through this. I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you. But in her mind, she thinks that she was there for you despite it all, and that's just not true.
No.
It's like, hell, I remember taking you home when you were like 17 years old, and I'm backing back out of your driveway, and you come running back and saying, "Can I please spend the night at your house? There's some strange guy on my couch."
Yeah. And
I'm like, is this common? And you're like, yeah kind of, and it's like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, who? Like, do you know who it is? And it's like, no, I think I maybe met him once, but it's like, dude, that's not safe. That's not safe, dude. I mean,
There were so many guys in and out of her life. That wasn't
That's a
even
problem.
funny. Yeah,
and that brings back around to modern women and the inability to pair bond because
exactly
they're with this person and that person, and she didn't want to be told how to spend her money. Everybody's controlling. Or,
yes,
you know.
and it's like what Dr. Phil said. Even one other guy in the picture,
it's like 30%.
Yeah, chance. Increases 30% chance that there'll be a molestation or
some kind of abuse.
Yes,
yeah, exactly. And it's like, why do you take that chance? I'm sorry. Like, if God has forbid anything ever fucking happened to where we weren't together,
I know.
There is no way in hell I would think about being with somebody else ever.
Nope, I wouldn't either.
I would suffer through it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, because we have a whole different way of thinking. Most people would be like, this is their life. They're gonna live it. This is they only get this one life. When in reality, we know that there's several lives that you can live. This is just one of them.
Yeah.
And we'll find each other in another life, but it's going to be complicated if you move on to somebody else.
Well, but what if, like, say we just, I mean, like, we don't believe in it, but what if, like, theoretically we split up and got a divorce?
I still wouldn't find anybody else.
I mean, that's still adultery because unless the person is dead, then there's there's no such thing as divorce. Right?
Exactly, there isn't.
And I don't know, like I couldn't. I mean, at least until the children were grown and could live on their own.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like I just can't even wrap my head around it even then.
I know, but exactly.
It's like that should be your main sole focus is making sure that your children get out into the world as sane and pure as they can be.
Yes.
I swear.
Yes, he's watching me.
I know.
Hi. Look at that smile.
He smiles. Yes, that's his latest thing. It was like,
sounds like a zombie.
He does.
All right. Ready?
We might not make it through anything else here.
I know. Ready?
Yeah.
It might be like a 3-parter.
Nope, that's not.
These things are done. These things trigger me because of this. So I need to work on this, understand I'm not in that same place anymore. There's so much freedom. I think that's what it is. There's so much freedom and agency that's given back to you that you take control of when you really get a grip on the psychology of your brain and where things are connected and where things are hardwired, because at that point, then you can decipher something. Then you can decode something. Then you can really work on something. But you can't confront something. You can't heal something that you're choosing to ignore or that you're choosing to not understand or dive deep into.
It's like that's reacting like that. Just keep in mind, they're not reacting in proportion to the plate. They're reacting in proportion to the traumatic thing that happened in their past. And you might think like, what do I do about this? Because this is a huge boundary in our relationship. This is like, how do I get them to understand, like, hey, you are reacting to me. You're reacting to the thing that happened in your past. And just pause. Try not to take it personally. They're not reacting to you. Give them space. Give them like 30, 45 minutes. Time that can feel crazy. Don't be all like, well, see, I was right. Be nurturing, be kind. If you can come to them in a nurturing way, that's going to build trust,
Do this. I highly recommend this for outside of personal relationships, but friends too. There's so much power in that. If they really love you, then you should understand, and this isn't a common occurrence, then you should understand that reaction, that immediate disrespect, that immediate like getting upset or whatever it may be, that necessarily always isn't a personal attack. That can be something from within them. And it's worth working on, it's worth talking through, only if they're willing to talk through it and work on it. And it's not your job as a friend or as a loved one to, you can take a horse. What's that saying? Y'all finna fry me in these comments. What is that saying? Take a horse to water, but they can't drink it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink it. Something like that. You can't try to be Captain Save-A-Ho in somebody else's life if they don't want their life saved. You can't. If they're open to the open conversations and really getting deep and having these tough conversations, full steam ahead. Go for it. That's a great relationship, great friendship. They're willing to work on it.
Yeah, right. Good.
Yeah. Yes, the conversations are what did it for us. We literally would.
It's really strong.
We literally would have our hallway philosophy, night in, night out. I mean, we would sit there and just talk for hours.
And then when we were doing our healing and everything here, just sitting pretty much exactly right where we are right now, just talking about, I've realized this is why I do this, and I think this is why you do that, and and then we kind of have this back and forth. But I would tell you what, if you try to tell me that in the moment of me throwing a fit, you would have more than a fit thrown at you, and you have experienced that. It was like, it might be true. It might be absolutely true what you're saying, but if you try to tell me, well, you're just doing this because of, blah, 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 I would lose it. I would know. If there was something nearby, it would get thrown at you. And it's like, I don't really understand why that is, but because like sitting in a calm atmosphere, I can take that. I understand, and I do know that's the truth, and I understand why I'm acting the way I am. But in those moments, you can't reason with somebody like that.
No, you can't.
Like, it just brings up a way more hostility. So it's he's probably right. Probably just best to let it go and then hope that you guys can come back around and actually have a deep conversation when things have cooled.
Exactly.
It might not be that night. It might not be that week. It just might just happen. It has to happen organically.
It does, yes.
Because if you sit down and say, well, we need to sit down and talk about what happened, that also instantly brings up,
oh my God, yes,
defenses. And for you, I would imagine it would bring up fear. And so we would never have that honest conversation. Yeah. It just has to happen organically.
It really does.
And thank God we're both Gemini, and talking is what we do, because like that saved us so many times.
Oh no, we got 3 Gemini in this household, and
a Scorpio, which is like the arch nemesis of Gemini. He is the shepherd staff.
But so far he's awesome.
He is sensitive though. He is way more sensitive.
Gingy, baby.
And like more clingy,
He is for sure.
Than the warrior over there.
Yep. And I love Amir saying the Captain Save.
It's the best way to put it too. Yeah, it's like, no, you can't do it. You can't just don't even try. Don't.
It's funny.
All right. What he's trying to say, you can't lead a horse to water. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Exactly.
If you give it enough salt, you can.
Yes.
Are you making raspberries?
I'm just kidding.
Make raspberries.
But they're going to keep suppressing, you're just not the right stepping stone for them. You're just not. And there are many tools to help you decipher this. There's many tools to help you work through something. For a lot of people, that's reading different self-help books and psychology books. That is listening to different podcasts and wellness podcasts. But others, it requires them to sit down and talk to someone. If you're dealing with these relationship issues, friendship issues, internal issues, and you want to work on them, but you need someone to talk to that's an outside source, then today's sponsor, BetterHelp, can really help you out. BetterHelp will connect you with a therapist who can help you find answers to some of these questions that you may have. Instead of being stuck in this endless loop of questioning yourself or feeling alone, feeling like you don't have an outlet, someone to talk to, someone to work through this with, you can talk with someone who's trained to help you find these real answers. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire, and then you'll be matched with a therapist that best fits your needs in as little as a couple of days. And if it's not a right fit,
if you have childhood trauma, you really want the person you're dating to have childhood trauma. Have you guys ever gone on a first date and they start telling you about their childhood trauma and you have to stifle your excitement?
Yes, so much. Whether it be the person I'm dating or like even friendships, it's like you get it. If you have childhood trauma, it's just a unique bond. It really is. It's just like you get it. Like if you know, it's that kind of vibe. If you've gone through so much crap, it'd be the darkest people, skin color, it'd be the darkest people. The people with the darkest humor typically have gone through some of the most worst stuff in their life. And it's nice to have someone to talk to that can relate to just various things that have gone on in your life. And there's a difference between trauma bonding in the sense of like you two are both just bonding off your trauma and breaking each other down, and everything's always a problem, everything's always an issue, and you're feeding off each other on that, versus a genuine trauma bond, which is just like me and my best friend, we both have childhood trauma, we talk about it, we help each other out, and we move on. I think that there's a distinction in the different types of trauma bonding. And this one right here, it's totally spot on.
Trauma is not what happened to you. Trauma is what happened inside you as a result of what happened to you. So trauma is the psychic wound that you sustained. That's the first point. The second point is, if we understand the nature of a wound, really there's two ways to look at a wound. If it stays open, It's very sore. You touch it. If I pat myself on the shoulder right now, I feel no pain. But if there was a wound there and my shoulder was bare and my nerve endings were close to the surface, in other words, if I was thin-skinned, and if I tap myself with the same force, there'd be severe pain. So one aspect of trauma is like an open sore that if you touch it, you just react like you were just wounded all over again. That's one aspect of a wound. The other way to look at a wound is that it forms a scar. A scar tissue protects the wound, but at the same time, it's thick, it's inflexible, it's hard, it's not capable of growth, and it lacks nerve endings, so you don't feel. So trauma both sensitizes us to certain stimuli, and on the other hand, numbs us to our own feelings and separates us from our bodies because it's too painful to be in our bodies.
I mean, that's probably one of the best analogies I've ever heard about trauma, because it's true. For some people, something happens and just immediately react as if that wound is there. Like trauma in a wound is equal, just depends on the person and how soon things have happened, whatever it may be, what kind of response it elicits. Because whether you like it or not, the trauma is always there. You just have to work on it. It's like a broken mirror. You can fix a broken mirror, but it still has a crack. So for the people who have all that trauma and it's more set up like a wound, it's deep, it's numb, it's in there, you can see it, but you don't feel it. It's super suppressed, but it's still there. And that's the problem I think a lot of people are facing and confronting, especially a lot of millennials nowadays, is confronting the many wounds that they have and the things that have gone on in their world and the things that have gone on in their childhood. And it's like not a lot of people do this work to really understand who they are. And I honestly truly feel like more women do than men. Some straight men I do, but I feel like a lot of straight men, it's another video, like toxic masculinity. But in terms of addressing the wounds and really dealing and doing the deep work to unpack the various triggers that you have, or unpack like, I suppressed this for a long time. You gotta address it. Because I feel like a lot of millennials, they're confronting this childhood trauma, and they're confronting the trauma period in their lives, because they're getting to an age where like they're really like settling into, almost knocked over my water. Settling into who they are as a person. And when you're doing that, you typically do the work to understand who you are, you know? But that was a really good analogy. I thought my therapist was crazy when she had me do this exercise. Close your eyes and Close your eyes and visualize the door to your childhood bedroom. Go in and imagine sitting with your child self. Tell him or her everything you needed to hear as a child but didn't. It sounds insane until it doesn't. Realizing you are the adult you always needed. I mean, I'm so uncomfortable. I really am. It's too much. It's really, I'm transparent.
So we watched this one a couple days ago when we decided we wanted to go ahead and use it for this weekend, or this, it was supposed to be yesterday, but whatever. And the first time we watched this, we did this little exercise, and we were wondering, what?
Oh my God, yes.
What would we say to our childhood selves? And I think we both kind of came to the conclusion that we don't really know, because we weren't really like children. We didn't really have a childhood, so it's like and I wouldn't change anything anyway. You have to, go through it, right?
Yes. And because it's like you don't want to change what has happened, because you are the person that you are because of what's happened.
Exactly.
If you change even the smallest thing, we might not be together.
Exactly. Because it's like if we were healed, we wouldn't need each other.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, that would suck.
It would.
And then these children wouldn't exist, and they throw off the whole paradigm of the universe, and everything would come crashing down.
Exactly.
But I guess, like I said, I think the thing that I could think of, I could just think of one thing to say, it'd be like, it's not your fault.
Yes.
It is what it is, but it's not your fault. And That's probably about the only thing that I can think of that I would say to childhood me, because
I mean, I understand that,
and this will pass.
Yes, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And it's like, there wasn't much more that I could think of saying. It was just kind of like, you'll get over it.
Yeah, you said the future's better.
The future's better.
Yeah.
You marry an amazing person.
Some days, right?
All the time. And he went out.
Yeah, he didn't want to be down. He wanted to listen to Amir.
Yep. And it put him to sleep.
Yep.
But yeah, tonight you made an amazing meal.
Yeah. Good. You've been trying to keep shit up for the past 6 months, 5 months or so.
Yep.
Just before his birth and then afterward. And I really hope I can get back into cooking stuff. And
you will in time. I mean, you got stuff still going on right now. I mean, it's going to take time to fall back into.
It's like once you find your set of duties and propriety and everything, it really does help too.
It does.
Service helps,
Yes.
and especially being outside serving helps a lot. It's like that brings a lot of perspective in pretty damn quick.
Oh God, it does. Yes.
It's like you work outside with Steve and here too, but it's like you do a lot of heavy manual labor in the elements, under the sun, in the wind, whatever it takes.
I have done anything from security cameras, hooking them up. I've done building giant 10 by 30 greenhouses
and the sheds and gardening.
I've done a couple of sheds,
fencing, and
2 greenhouses,
shingles. Yeah, all kinds of, and it's really therapeutic. It really gets you back down to what God's intentions were
exactly
for each of us.
Yeah.
Maybe in the home, it's like you don't have to search for God. God finds you, because they know that women are too busy.
God,
So it's like that's
God will find you.
That's the whole deal of working in the home, and it's funny,
yes,
and it's like it does not discourage creativity or anything. That's actually part of it, but. Staying home, taking care of the children, cooking the food, taking care of the animals, taking care of the plants.
Yes.
That's all brings women closer to God.
Yeah, it does. And that's just it. You don't want to mix the things up, because, for some couples it might work to mix it up. But for the most part, that's the way that it's supposed to be.
But I worked outside with the horses, and that I used to lay piping and do fencing and all that, and I never was that close to spirituality that way.
Exactly.
Working with the animals, directly with them, but doing all that other shit, pulling hay and doing all it just made, honest to God, it made me resentful.
See,
so,
but that's because that's not your thing.
Yeah,
you were supposed to be to where. You're doing stuff here. You get to take care of the land. We want to be homesteaded within 5 years.
Yeah.
Free from all the government. Free from all everything.
Completely self-sustaining. And that's the whole deal,
We already have a solar device, the Rick Yeti.
Yep.
That runs some of our stuff,
Yeah. And it's that would be great if we could get more, and but it's that's my legacy, that's what I say. It's I want the land and food and animals, so that way, his children, all of our descendants have a place to go and be, and,
exactly,
not have to worry
about
living, because they'll have that.
Yeah, for these two to come back to, if they want to go do their thing and then come back here.
Yeah.
They don't have to.
But it is their duty to find somebody else to fill that spot. So
exactly. They do have to do that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with familial duties. Nope. It's you don't have to come back, but you better find somebody to take care of the land, because it's I put in already
a lot. Yes.
Over 8 years of work here.
Exactly.
So yeah, but that's our legacy. It's the money might not last forever, but this will.
Yes,
it will. At least until the world burns, but it's or floods. But at least there's more security in that. If you're gonna invest in something tangible, something
exactly. Yes,
like that you yourself can control it. It's not in the hands of some other investor, and
Yes, invest in land, invest in getting
goats and
sheep and cows and
dogs for protection, and you gotta do the whole 9 yards.
Exactly, you do.
Horses are good too for transportation. As well as the manure quality is way cleaner than cattle. And
it is for sure. Yeah, cattle are some of the dirtiest.
Yeah, just like, I don't know, over processed, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can get through this.
Yep.
Nope.
Pairing with y'all, we're getting right to it, but damn, this video's unpacking a lot. It really is. I mean, it's why this channel exists. Half the time I'm just not even half the time, majority of the time, unless it's like breaking news, I'm creating content for my 16-year-old self. I'm creating content for the lost person out there that truly wanted to end it all and almost did, but thankfully didn't. It's just, you know what would I say? If I had to go back, well, it depends on which home. Hello, moved a ton. Broken childhood. If I had to go to the home where I spent most of elementary school in,
okay, I just wanted to add this in there too. It's like, I understand where he's coming.
He's kicking the. There we go. Okay.
I understand where he's coming from on this one. It's like, that was my big point too. It's like, well, which house would that be? What house would I be looking back on? Because I moved so much as a kid.
It was so blurred.
Yeah, I had so many different homes, and it was like, that's why when we got this house, I was like, no, I'm done moving. This is it.
Yeah.
We're settling here, and that's it.
Exactly.
I'm not moving.
And that's all I was ever raised to do anyway. As a matter of fact, before coming here, I thought that I would be spending, I was already 22 years at my previous house, and I thought that I would inherit that house, and, I would take care of it, and then my mother lost it.
I know. That was a shocker day.
Yeah, so that's like all I've ever wanted, and it's like I want deep roots. I want something that's classically ours, and our grandchildren, great grandchildren, great great grandchildren all know where the hell this started.
Yeah. It's just like, you look at the Rankins where we are.
Yeah.
They've had this land for generations. It's like, that's what I want. I want to be able to be like, we're right with them as far as
the level of commitment and how long you've been here. Yes, exactly.
I would tell myself he's not coming. Referring to my dad, because he always would call and tell me that he's coming to come see me, he's coming to pick me up, like, we're gonna hang out, we're gonna spend the day, we're gonna do this, go to this car show, do this and that. And I would literally be at the front door waiting on this man to show up. Like, imagine, like, I'll put a picture. Hello, this little cute Amir sitting at the front door with the backpack, just waiting to be picked up by his dad. And he would never show up. So I would tell that Amir, like, he's not coming. Mind your business, go play with your toys, go do something else. But like, you're wasting your time sitting here waiting on him to show up, because it's not going to happen. I told you the elementary school one. If I had to go to a middle school door, I lived in 4 different homes in middle school. I'm in 2 different yearbooks for the same grade. If I had to pick a bedroom door to go to, those were some of the worst years of my life. Quite frankly, I would go to the worst one. I would go to 8th grade, the door when I was living by myself, basically. I was living in my godparents' house, and one has MS, one was working overnight. I was always alone. That's when I was cooking alone. I was cooking my own food, doing my own laundry. I was basically had my own apartment, basically, in 8th grade. I would tell myself, don't waste your time trying to end it, because it's not worth it. And to keep doing whatever you need to do to create a dream life. I found this out through music and through online, but if I had to be the one to tell myself that, I would tell myself to really not get distracted by my current situation and my current moment. I know you're feeling like no one's there for you. I know you're tired of being alone. I know you're not wanting to be on this planet. Have no mom, have no dad, have no one around you. I get it. But it's called going through it for a reason. It's the temporary thing in your life. It sucks. It's not fun, but you're gonna be okay. And it was at that age that I really turned things around for myself. But if I had to go back then, I mean, I wouldn't change. That's the thing about these questions. Like, I wouldn't change anything about my childhood. I really wouldn't, because I am the person I am today because of everything I went through in the past, and I wouldn't change anything. But if I had to, for the scenario, give myself some advice, it would be that. Yeah, because that was hard. And I'll leave it for the end of the video, talking about like a breakdown that I had like 2 months ago. We're all out here trying to just confront our childhood self, and that's a really good exercise. And if you're open to it, you should do yours in the comments below. Like if you're still watching this, if you're still watching this, put in the comments below if you're open to it. It's like, hey, to my blank-year-old self, boom. Leave that comment below. I would love to see those. Love.
Hi, yes. Was anybody else a bedroom kid? Because I just realized I was a bedroom kid and I didn't even know it. What I mean by bedroom kid was teenager who spent most of their time in their bedroom because they didn't really feel safe or welcome in the communal area. And I realized this because my kids like to hang out in the communal area.
Ooh. I was so innocent. Damn. Children are really innocent because before 7th grade, when shit really hit the fan in 2008, that financial crisis and being homeless, that's when I turned into a recluse. Because before that, I was always outside, always somewhere. I was never in my room. But okay, I'm sitting here editing this video and I just came to a realization that yes, I just said that I was always gone outside. I was never in my room. Keyword outside. I was never at home because I wasn't safe. I didn't feel safe at home. I didn't like being at home. So I was always outside at my friend's house. I was always outside at the park. I had so many like adopted parents that I'm just editing this video and this is insane, y'all. It is just insane. But I had to come back and just add this in because I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, no shit, Sherlock. Like you were outside, you weren't in your room because even to that point, you didn't like your home. I don't know. Let's continue. When I went in that stage, and that's why I take so much care of my room now, my home, and it's such a safe space. When it got to that point in 8th grade, I really took care of my room. I always had a candle lit, the window open, like it was such a safe. Those times, I remember them like it was yesterday. Crazy. But I never want to be anywhere else other than my room.
They pull out their iPads and their headsets, or they read a book, practice piano in the communal area. They put on the TV, like the general communal TV. They talk to their dad and I, at the kitchen table and all that stuff. And I found that really weird. For the longest time, I was like, damn.
All right, I had to pause it right there because the difference between her as a kid and then her kids are the fact that her kids like hanging out with her. She did not like hanging out with her parents because her parents were probably old style that, well, you're not supposed to be friends with your kids, which you're really not. But that doesn't mean you can't get along with them and still have fun.
I think that you can be friends with your kids, but you just have to have that boundary that I'm still your parent.
Well, that's what I mean. It cannot be just friends, like your mother.
You and your dad was like that.
Yeah,
I know, but she lorded a lot of authority over me.
Yeah.
So I don't really feel like she was, even if that was the case, a good friend.
Exactly. No, she wasn't. She wasn't good anything.
But like with your dad, just kind of like, oh, we'll do fun things, we'll hang out together, but never really contributing to.
And that's not what it's about.
Like, your
career, for sure.
Your paths or in life or anything.
Yes.
But definitely you can be friends with your kid and hang out and everything, and I get what you're saying there, and it's the same thing. Like, I didn't really like hanging out. I did sometimes, but for the most part, I would avoid the communal space, like with them when you're watching TV and stuff. I'd go watch my own TV somewhere else, and
it was different for you too because they worked at night,
right,
and slept during the day. So it's a whole different scenario. You avoided it because you didn't want to wake them up because that's where your mother was.
And even when she'd sleep in the back, you didn't really want to put TV on
because you didn't want to wake him up, and
But like with him, with Guru, he like always wants to be in our space, even though, and we live in the same space. You know,
yeah, but he loves it. He's always right up with us.
And we've given him the option to have different spaces and stuff, and he chooses to be around us more. That's really telling.
It is.
You know,
it's because we as a generation have been able to change and shift that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, you don't have to be such jackasses to your kid.
Mm-hmm. And like you, when you were suffering from legitimate separation anxiety.
Yes.
Just
get over it.
Looking through your little bedroom window thingy, and everybody sitting in the living room, and you want to be part of that. And they're like, no, you have to stay in there. You have to stay in there. There's a dark room, and everybody's laughing and having a good time without you. Yes. And you're having literal separation anxiety. And it's like they like make fun of you and try to be tough on you or something. And it's like, that's like, God, dude.
You know, that separation anxiety was driven on by divorce, was driven on by the fact that my dad left the house. I didn't see him too often.
Yeah.
By this point I was, when I had the anxiety. But it's like all this stuff had already built up over the years that it festered in me.
I know. I remember even asking them, I was like, well, how old was he at the time? And they're like, well, he was like, 10 or 11. And it's like, he was old enough to like, you know, and it's like, dude, no way. Yeah. No way. Not when you guys did that. You couldn't keep your shit together. You were the one that got divorced, not once, but twice. You were the one that freaking left. You were the one that couldn't hold, speaking to your mother, couldn't hold a stable, position and kept moving all over the place, So it's like, and then they're going to punish you because you want to be around them and you're afraid they're not going to be there in the morning. I mean, really? Frosted me, man.
Yes.
That's fucked up.
It really is.
Did you?
Oh, I did not. So you're still hearing us.
Their room must suck, and I added things to it to kind of make it a little more interesting, but no, it turns out that was my trauma. It turns out that normal people actually like their homes.
Like the fact that you as a parent created an environment where your kid doesn't want to be in their room, healthy, great, but even for me, I'll be like, why are you always in the living room? Like, why aren't you in your room? It's called being comfortable. It's called liking where you live, loving your home, a nice, friendly environment. Makes total sense. But damn, I lived in my room, and I lived in my room because I did not like the way things were. And that was the one place I had control and full. I could just be myself. I was allowed to exist. I was allowed to just breathe. I was allowed to watch what I want to watch, to read what I want to read. I had control. When everything else around me was so chaotic and miserable, that was the one place where I just had control. If you can relate, let me know in the comments below.
Our parents, compared to us, they survived with each other because simply this is going to hurt some people's feelings and it's going to bring up some trauma. Your parents stay together because of the kids, because of your brother and your sister. That's why your parents stay together, as much as they didn't love each other. And all the flags were there. They were sleeping in different beds. They weren't hugging. They weren't kissing. They weren't even celebrating each other.
And it's so interesting. I love to know someone's perspective in the comments below. Did you notice that as a kid? Did you notice they didn't like each other? Because I've always felt like, even though it sucked not having my dad at home, it was better in the sense that he was actually gone. He was actually gone, and it was just my mother. Granted, that introduced struggles. So I get why some parents stay together, but I feel like that does more damage than good, because if my dad was there but never present in my life, was only there just to keep the bills afloat and keep the house overhead and keep us together, I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. And I feel like that does a lot of damage, especially to some friends out there.
Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4 kids. Man, F this, F that. I'm going to find my own happiness. And it's just like, oh. So that's looked down upon, finding your own happiness, choosing yourself because you're in a bad, toxic relationship. But to your parents, they've been in a toxic relationship. But it's not
different level of toxicity, right? So then, they're going to say, our parents didn't love each other.
Yeah.
They put up with, like you said, they put up with themselves and their own shit. And they get mad because when we exit a relationship for our sake and for our happiness, we're the bad ones.
That's so interesting. I do feel like I've seen that before, where people are leaving these relationships and maybe that's why On one end, you should be fighting for a relationship to stay together. It's nuanced. It really depends on what's going on, the context at hand. But it is interesting seeing the older generations, Gen X and the baby boomers, that stay together for the kids. And like, were they really happy with life? Like even my own grandparents, not Papa, but my other grandparents, they didn't like each other. I've never seen them hug or kiss. They'd slept in different bedrooms my entire life. Like, what kind of life is that to live? Wouldn't it be better if y'all just separated and two happy separated parents than together who obviously hate each other but are there for the kids? I don't know, but there's so much to unpack when it comes to our childhood trauma and the things we face and the things we go through and how we respond to things, how we act, our friendships, our personality. It goes so deep. There's much power in understanding yourself.
Top 5 signs that I can tell a man is still struggling with childhood trauma. The first sign is passive aggressiveness, the inability to set boundaries and or speak up for yourself for fear of rejection, for fear of abandonment. Number 2 is a massive amount of social anxiety. So an isolation, you go into kind of an emotional anorexia and don't tend to come out of that.
And this applies, I feel like this applies to both men and women, but she's getting to something that makes sense. What I mentioned earlier in this video, like more women are doing the work than men. And I see some of these behaviors and even some friends that I've had that are male and straight.
Is your ability to be present and emotionally attuned to a situation or a person without disassociating, without going up into your head, going into fantasy, going into catastrophic thinking. Number 4 is a nervous system that is dysregulated. So if I'm sitting across from a man and he has a leg shake or a nervous twitch or something I can tell within his body that's like very uncomfortable, when I ask that man what type of an environment that he grew up in, what was his mom like, dad like, what was the
So yeah, pretty much all the way through there, the passive aggressiveness that hits it on the head right there with you. The shaking of the leg.
Oh my god, I am bad with that. Like I've made people think that there's an earthquake.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh my god, earthquake.
Or something wrong with the car.
Yeah, or something wrong with the car. That's happened quite a few times. Yeah. I was like, oh, sorry, no, that's me.
And it's like if something gets really uncomfortable, it's like you breathe in through the nose and you're shaky and your hands get shaky, and it's like you just respond to those uncomfortable situations well.
Yeah, I don't.
And that's triggering for me because in our past that can along with lying.
Yeah.
You do that when you lied to me about something, and so then I get triggered. And then it's
still happens to this day.
If we don't one of us doesn't notice really quick and curb it, it turns into this whole thing,
Exactly. It's big.
So now I've just become more conscious of that, and it's like, okay, well, I can't control what he does, I can only control what I do, and I just try to let it go, you know, to the point, and then it's like then it'll pass and we'll be okay. But yeah, definitely. And then like I was saying, like outwardly I would look like the mean one, but with passive aggressive behavior you have the ability to be really mean in your own way.
We both do. Yes.
And it's like, so it just like looks more like, because I'm much more vocal about it. I don't really care. It's like I will be mean if it's a righteous thing, but like, yeah, in the past you've had your own ways of being really mean just by being quiet, you know, and it's like, wow, it's like you be quiet but you'll go and do something anyway, and it's like, oh my god
I have
So yeah, she's got it, she's hit it so far
on the head.
Yeah, for sure.
So what was kind of happening as a little kid, there's a lot of chaos in his environment. And he never learned to discharge that energy. So when it comes up, it just kind of gets stuck in his body.
Do you recognize any of these things in yourself? Like the things that she's outlining, I've done, but I've also seen. And it makes so much sense when you relate it back to your childhood and the environment you grew up in. There's so many different things that I've seen people do and how they act. And it's sad. It really is that there's so much trauma out there that is unaddressed. Because as soon as you address it, whether that be with therapy or books or podcasts, whatever it may be, you just unlock so much about yourself and you power up and you get to grow. But you can't grow if you won't allow yourself to.
And the last one is addictions or problems regulating your intake, whether it's food, drugs, corn, all the things. It basically, the reason why we form addictions is because of what's happening inside of us. When we aren't able to get emotional regulation from our caregivers, we go straight.
I don't know if she said it yet, but there's another one that she'll bring about the inability to like concentrate, like you just like check out, space out, nod off,
Yeah.
Got that for sure.
Oh yeah.
And then the addiction thing, addictive personality all the way around.
Yeah.
Like you said with the sodas.
I used to drink, I drank a 24-pack in, 12-pack in a day. Easy.
Yeah, and then eventually turned into like painkillers and drinking. And it was like, it's like all the things that it's like, if it takes you away from that momentary uncomfortableness, you warm fuzzy feeling, you want that, it's
exactly.
Like, why shouldn't I have that? I should, and you're right, you should have had that, but it needed to come from healthier sources.
Exactly. Yes, that's just the problem.
And with you, like, not like I said, you were invalidated. Your mother did not care what you had to say. Your father disregarded what you said.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I'm the first person to really want to know what you're thinking. And it drives me crazy to this day when you don't say it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's like ultra stoicism, and it's like, I want to know. I want to know exactly what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And
exactly.
But because of the way you were treated as a child, it's like.
Yeah, and the way that I was treated as a child, it's like, even with my mother, how selfish she was, I did not like the dentist.
Yeah.
And just to make it easier on her, she would drug me.
Yeah.
I was like probably 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah, I know.
And she put me on like Klonopin or whatever the hell the dentist. Valium, yeah.
And I always question that because I remember you telling me the story and I was like, there's no way. I'm like, they did not give you Valium. But then she went ahead and reiterated that whole story later on and told me that, I had to give him Valium and everything. He was so afraid. And then the solution to that, I guess, was to stop making you go to the dentist.
I guess, yeah, because I suffered severe teeth problems.
I've never seen anything like it. It just drives me crazy.
My parents never forced me to brush my teeth. It was like, oh, go brush your teeth. And me being a kid at the time, I just go in there, run the water, not do it. Well, that would be a mistake for myself, but my parents never made sure of that.
Yeah, you didn't have the ability to look around the corner and see the pain that you're going to be putting yourself in, but they fucking knew.
Yeah, and I had, they had government jobs, government benefits, so there was no reason there that this should have happened. At the age of 25, I think, right, is when I got my main work done.
So it was around there, yeah.
Yeah, I went in and I had most of my teeth pulled out because they were just, everything was so bad.
And it was like, that just like bothered me because it's like, I understand why you had to do it at that point, but it's like, that's like a sense of like pride, it sucks.
Yeah,
this
it
should
does.
not have fucking happened.
To say how bad it really was, a lot of people would be like, well, okay, but it's on you too. Well, okay, I was born without the enamel on my first set of teeth.
Well, because of
alcoholism.
Fetal alcohol
poisoning. Yes. Now, syndrome. If that wasn't enough, I had all my teeth capped, my baby teeth. And then my other ones grew in, and obviously they were stronger. But that should have still been more for my parents to be like, okay, we really need to make sure that he's brushing.
Yeah. Guru, he is 14 years old, and every now and then I still say, no, come here, let me see. I need to
make sure.
Because it's like I don't want him to suffer that pain.
No, because
you go through that, and like
by the time I was 14, I probably had already had like 10 cavities. 5, 10 cavities.
It's not uncommon either, because I know that a lot of his friends in school suffered that. Like they had 3 cavities, and they were still in elementary school.
I know.
So they were around the age of 7, and that was the average. They had 3 cavities.
I know. That's just it.
Like, what the hell? I didn't get any cavities until my I think I was around the same age. I was like 25 or 27, and I had them from the impacted wisdom teeth.
Yes.
And those I definitely got cavities there. And then I got some I don't know, they got cracked, these on both sides, and they had to be taken care of.
It's all because of how crowded your mouth is.
Yeah.
The impact,
Right.
teeth and everything. I mean, that's what it is for you right now.
I found out that, like there's like a little canyon in between them, and then like when I would eat sugary things, it gets stuck in there, and it just like literally eats away at it.
Yes.
And, like I had really, really, really bad pain only a couple of times.
And that's enough for you.
That was enough. And
yes.
It was like, there's no way in hell.
You would think that would have been enough for me too, but
Damn it, it's like I said, so hard to look around the corner as a child, and then
yes.
I mean, literally, I knew you when you were 17.
Exactly.
And you were wrecked already.
Yeah.
So it was already bad.
Oh, it was.
You were still in their care at that time.
And I was already scolded by some of the dentists at that point too. Being like, you really need to brush your teeth better. You have to make sure.
But then it's like you already had this pattern of depression and apathy,
exactly.
lack of apathy. They're like, oh, why should I?
Yeah, exactly.
It is what it is, and I'll do it later. And it was like
I was a bad procrastinator.
I
barely passed high school.
I know, you drove me crazy. I was like, damn it,
Yes.
But I remember that when you moved in with me, you would see that I would brush my teeth 3 to 5 times a day.
Exactly.
And you started to.
Yeah.
It was like just through just witnessing that. So
exactly.
Did you not witness your parents take care of themselves?
Not really. I mean, they'd be in their own bathroom doing it before bed. I mean, we'd be different.
I see, but yeah, no, it's like that was totally unacceptable to me.
Yeah, it was.
That sucks. Yeah, very good.
Bypass them and go straight to the addiction whenever it was formed, wherever we started to get that calm relief, we bypass them and go straight there. So the good news is that all of this is fixable. You do not have to suffer with this anymore.
You don't. And I think so make sure to subscribe, because I'm gonna work on a video focusing on toxic masculinity, because it definitely is a real thing. Toxic masculinity, men not knowing themselves, men not doing the work to discover who they are, fear of rejection, the corn addictions, the fear of really doing the work to understand who you are as a person. It's real. And these signs are real. And there's I've just spoke on it before, but when you're able, that's what I love on pause. Side note, what I do love about TikTok, Twitter, Instagram Reels, whatever it may be, YouTube, it unlocks things in you that you didn't think about or that you thought was just a you thing, but it turns out just a common occurrence. And it helps you to address it and work on it. So I really hope during this video, if anything has stuck out with you, if anything spoken to you, related to anything, you look into why. Why did you relate with that? Why did you notice, yeah, I am that person at a date just freaking shaking my leg like crazy? And getting to the why of that, it's powerful. And speaking of that, getting into I told y'all I was going to talk about it. My most recent and biggest mental breakdown. I went back to my childhood home. All of them. I went back to my hometown. I was there for 2 days for a friend's grandma funeral. All good. And I haven't been back to some of those spots in some of those areas since I left abruptly. Since I was about to end it all and jump in front of a semi, to be quite frank. And I went back to that town and I drove to every single home that I grew up in. And I went to every single park in every single school. And I even went to the spot where it really almost went down, kaput, bye. I went to that spot. And when I tell you that's the hardest I've ever cried in my life for an hour and a half straight, complete, utterly sobbing, uncontrollably, boo-hoo-hoo. And I was in a rental car. It was not tinted at all. People were looking at me like I'm crazy in the red light next to me. It was from midnight to 1:30 in the morning. And I think I'm so overwhelmed with emotion because lately I have been doing the work to understand why I am the person that I am. Typically always have, but more so as of recently. And to me, I've processed it. It's great. it was just so full circle to go back to that moment and those times and play all the music that I was listening to at the time to see where my life is now. And a lot of that is due to you watching this video right now. And my subscribers completely changing my life and me living the life that I've always wanted to, that I've dreamed about. And I'm beyond grateful, so much gratitude and love. And I can't even express how thankful I am for you watching this video right now, being with me, taking in what I'm saying, hanging out with me, going through the news or generational topics, trauma, teachers, trans people, the gays, the blacks, the browns, whatever it may be. I'm thoroughly thankful that you're here. And if you're someone struggling with even being present with yourself, again, it's called going through for a reason. You're not stuck there. But I hope that you are also one of these people that is addressing and going through your childhood trauma, whatever trauma you may have, and doing the work to understand why you are the way you are, so you can learn to change new patterns in your life, change new pathways. I'm gonna put up this book. I'm gonna link below. Breaking the Habits of Being Yourself. That is my most favorite book ever. And the book just talks about how you can really change who you are as a person at its core. And I truly think it's possible, but that's what I did. I read a lot of books. I read a lot of books to get out of my depression and to really change who I am. In the past few years, been doing the work to really understand deeply the different patterns that I have in relating it back to my childhood and be like, oh, okay, that's where that came from. So I can address this, so I can do this, so I can tweak this here. It all makes sense. You know, there's just so many different learnings there's just so many things about me that I've learned the past few years that are a result of just a chaotic upbringing. I just hope you know, if you're still watching this video, addressing your childhood traumas and going to therapy, which I'm so thankful that that sponsor happened and it's so fitting, because I've just been so in my head the last 2 years, whether it be therapy, whether it be your best friend, whether it be family, whether it be books, podcasts. I just hope that you're doing the work to really reflect on your life and become the dream version of who you want to be. And knowing whatever your situation is right now, it's a situation, it's a season, you will pass and you will get through this. So whew. I'm gonna end it on that. This video heavy, y'all. I can't. I hope you had a great day today. That things are going well for you. I'm thankful that you're here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting the content and being here. It means the world to me. I'm just about to go sit and cry. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. With that being said, I hope that you're doing the work to discover yourself, go through your childhood traumas, addressing everything, not becoming overtly emotional, keeping things in check, and do know that I read the messages. And I know there's a lot of people who look forward to the end of my videos. If you're still here, you will be okay. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what things you're facing. I don't know what childhood trauma you're addressing. I don't know what abuse you've gone through. I don't know what you're currently going through right now. But I assure you, you have to keep your head up and know that you'll be okay. Easier said than done, for sure. But there's too many people who've been in your shoes, who've had it worse, who made it out. And I'm not trying to say that to minimize your trauma. I'm saying that to show you that it's possible. It's possible to dig yourself out. So I hope you're doing that. Love you. Bye.
All right, ladies, that was Amir. He was really good with his works.
I'm sure that there's probably some good
ladies and
watchers.
gentlemen, or Sancho, ghouls,
guys and ghouls.
Yep.
Yeah, everything passes. I mean, even if you happen to die, it will pass and you move
Yes.
on. And I was telling LongWalker that we are all we're born as a soul, and that soul can't be changed. There's nothing that can change that. But the vehicle in which you carry that soul can be corrupted and messed with. So it's like you have to make sure that it's in alignment with that original
yes,
and
that's
purpose.
The biggest thing.
Like for me, I know, like my name suggests, I'm a daughter of the Aten. I will always fight for being righteous and fiery, and that is my core personality.
Yes.
But you can change how, like, I can change how I react to things and how I go through this world.
Yes.
And, you know, like it doesn't have to be the way that I made it in the past.
Exactly. You know? I mean, there's a lot there to take.
At the core, you're a messenger. You're here to lead people to enlightenment. You're here to, you know, show people that there is another way, that it doesn't have to be the way that it is. And
exactly.
You know, you didn't have to go about it the way that you were going about it.
No.
You know? So you can,
no, and I was
trying
to please everybody.
Yeah.
And then not hurt anybody's feelings in the process, and it was a messed up scenario.
You don't realize you don't have to be like me. You can tell people the truth without like, you know, like bringing it down on them like the weight of 1,000 suns. You know, it's like you have that ability.
Exactly.
And you do have the ability to speak up and to learn how to talk to people and stuff. You do have that because you do it with me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, I think that's kind of why we started this, because this is what we just did normally. And it's like, well, let's just record it just in case there's something really good, you know, that we say.
And then it ended up being with you guys, and so all of you could listen.
Yep, and it'll be here as a record forever. Yep. And it's also a record of your progression.
Exactly.
Learning how to talk about these things. And
learning how to stay still.
Yeah, you did better this time. That's the hardest thing for any child of a narcissist, is the ability to stay still.
Yes.
But in every monk-like circle, you're going to hear that be still and know. Because all healing starts with stillness. All healing or all knowledge starts with stillness.
Yes.
Sit cross-legged. Keep your back straight. Keep the back of your head in alignment with your coccyx. And breathe. And everything's going to be fine.
And it's like I've gotten so much better with my breathing, with my sitting straight.
That's the other thing, too, is an indication of his trauma. Is he's got very, very, very bad posture. Like you can tell, he looks at the ground all the time. Doesn't look up. Doesn't lead with the heart. He just, you know, like, and it's like if he doesn't start correcting it now.
Oh God, I would, if I didn't start correcting a while ago.
It's been like 3 years.
I was in a really bad state, and it wasn't going to be good for me coming up here.
You'd be living I mean, you're about, say you're halfway there now. You can spend the rest of your life aiming to be stronger and straighter.
Yes.
Because otherwise you're going to be in so much pain.
I know.
I've seen it, and it's like you'd be so frail and so much pain, and it's like that. I couldn't, you know. No. So it's like I get a little aggressive with him sometimes, but it's from a righteous perspective, and
I appreciate it.
It's literally only out of love, because I can't imagine you going through that pain.
No.
Oh my God! Later on in life, I mean,
I know.
When you first started, you couldn't even lay on your back and put your head in my lap.
No.
Without having, like, you couldn't even breathe.
Because it was
so
like,
much pain.
Yeah.
You know.
Because I mean, just look at one of my Tristan's teachers' husbands.
Yeah, he was always supposedly so active, and he walked everywhere, and he worked hard outside, but he had terrible posture.
Yeah.
And he crumbled one day, and he couldn't walk ever again, and that's how he died.
I know, that's sad.
And he was in pain all the time.
Yeah.
You know, base of this, and it's like headaches, and you know.
And I already get headaches from a motorcycle crash that I pounded my face into the asphalt, and when I wasn't wearing a helmet. About 35 miles an hour.
Into a cow. Like,
yeah, I hit a cow, and I flipped it. I flipped the bike. The bike crushed my foot, and I hit the.
Yeah. See, so you're already gonna have pain.
Yeah.
No matter what, there's nothing you can do to escape that.
No.
This you can control.
Yeah, this is something I can fix, so I'm not as bad later.
Right, and that's important. You know. So women, like, it's okay if you want to like get uppity, but you got to get uppity over the right things. You don't ever get uppity over things that suit you.
Yes.
If you're going to be bitching at something, somebody for something, it better be in their interest.
Exactly.
And or the interest of the family, because if it's for you, well, I don't get to do this, I don't get to do that.
Oh my God, I know.
That's all wrong.
Yeah, no.
But for sure, you can put your foot down and raise your voice over things that are going to help the ones that you love. That's
the ones you got.
You don't know the words anyway. All right, we're gonna.
But she still loves me.
We're gonna go. So.
Yep. Sorry that this one had to be on a Saturday, but we had weather issues and I had to go get some stuff in town. So
yeah, gotta do what you can when we live out the way that we do.
So let me run my ending.
We'll probably try to do this like during the week or something.
Yeah.
We have more of this to do, so maybe we can try and squeeze it in like later on, like throughout the week.
Yeah, we got a lot because there's still a lot more that we wanted to go through. This was just the first video.
Yeah, there was a lot more.
So maybe I'll do shorter videos with all the rest of like the other videos, like do one video, then one video, different videos. So.
Right, yeah, because all of it's good.
Yeah.
All of it's really good, and I'm kind of sad we don't get to it tonight, but this one,
Yes.
Alrighty, you need to pause, or you need to mute us on the other side.
Yeah, I will.
Otherwise, you'll have screaming.
Down to that. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy our special thanks. And remember, if you want to be on that special thanks, there's several ways for you to help out and help us here. And one of those is the Patreon. I think we have all linked up, right?
I think so. I have to double check it. It's Miyakota Monastery Patreon. Just look it up. It'll be it's just Miyakota Monastery. There's nothing else like it out there. So you'll see.
Yeah, you'll see it.
A picture with a wolf dog and our logo. So
you can always email me if you want to set up something else for payment.
Yeah, you can donate to PayPal.
Yeah, PayPal, anything like that. Just let us know. Yeah. It would be greatly appreciated. If we got to get a new ring light, that's the reason that we're not doing FaceTime right now. Exactly. So
we are also running a fundraiser for a car.
Yeah,
we have the car, but it's just for like the maintenance and everything. So I can put that in the description as well, and you can, if you want to donate to that.
Then it'll be much appreciated.
It'll go toward the maintenance of our car so that we can do more good works in the spring and the summer.
Yep.
Otherwise, have a good night.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for watching.
Namaste.